You know, people always want to know the difference. They come to me with this same burning question: what separates the winners from the losers in trading? And they expect me to hand them a secret entry, or the exact setup that never fails, or some holy grail indicator that nobody else has access to. But I always smile, because they're searching in the wrong direction. The thing that separates the winners from the losers is not the flashy entry. It's not the magic candle pattern. It's not even discipline in the way most people think about discipline. No. The separation happens in one simple, underrated habit that most traders dismiss because it doesn't feel exciting. The only habit that consistently separates the winners from the losers is journaling, reviewing, and repeating with structure. I know that sounds almost boring compared to the thrill of the markets. You don't get a dopamine rush from writing in a notebook. You don't get adrenaline when you sit down to analyze your trades. But here's the truth. This habit is the spine of every consistent trader's success. Without it, you're just gambling with charts. With it, you're designing a future where your process refines itself again and again until results become inevitable. Let's be brutally honest. How many of you have placed a trade, lost it, and moved on like nothing happened? You told yourself, I'll do better next time, but you didn't actually stop to ask why you lost. You didn't break down what you did right, what you did wrong, and what the market showed you. You simply erased the pain by moving on, by searching for the next setup, by chasing the next hit. That's what most traders do. That's what losers do. Winners, on the other hand, slow down. They don't just move on. They dig in. They record every detail. They ask uncomfortable questions. They study their own behavior like a scientist studies data. Because they know the edge isn't found in guessing the market, it's found in refining themselves. And that's why journaling feels so different. When you journal, you're not just writing down a few notes about the trade. You're holding up a mirror. You're forcing yourself to see yourself in motion. You're exposing your impulses, your hesitation, your inconsistencies. The chart doesn't lie, your account balance doesn't lie, and when you journal truthfully, you don't lie either. And that honesty, that raw, often painful honesty, is what carves the path to winning. Think of journaling like building a time machine. Every time you record a trade, every detail, you're capturing not just what happened, but why it happened. Later, when you review, you're traveling back. You're reliving the exact conditions that shaped your decision. You're stepping into your own mind from the past and asking, what was I thinking? Was I aligned with my model? Did I trust my system? Did I react emotionally? And then you catch it. You catch the gap between what you should have done and what you actually did. That gap is where growth lives. Now, here's where most traders fail. They don't review. They might jot something down once in a while, but they never circle back. Their journal becomes a graveyard of forgotten words. That's not journaling. That's just scribbling. Winners don't just record, they review. And not just once in a while, but constantly, systematically, like an athlete watching game tape. Imagine a boxer who trains but never watches his own fights. He swings, he gets hit, he bleeds, and then he forgets it all the next day. How will he ever improve? He won't. That's how most traders live, bleeding in silence, repeating mistakes because they refuse to confront their own footage. But the winners? They study. They rewind every move. They analyze not just what the market did, but what they did. And here's the rebel twist. Journaling and reviewing is not about beating yourself up. It's not about writing, I was stupid, I broke the rules again. It's not about guilt. It's about structure. It's about taking raw feedback from the market and converting it into a design that holds for tomorrow. Every note, every review session, every repeated pattern, it's all about building architecture. Because the true habit that separates winners from losers isn't just journaling, it's structural repetition. Let me break that down in real terms. Imagine you take a trade and you journal it. You review it later and notice. Every time you take a trade outside your model, you lose. You see it in black and white. You can't deny it anymore. That's feedback. Now comes the repetition. The next time the market tempts you to step outside your model, you recall the pattern you wrote down. And because you've seen it repeated across your own data, you don't even argue. You know how the story ends. So you stop yourself. You don't need discipline in that moment. You need memory. And journaling creates that memory. Review solidifies it. Repetition turns it into structure. And structure beats emotion every single time. You see how this flows? This is why the losers can never cross into consistency. They live in forgetfulness. They repeat mistakes, not structures. They hide from their data because it feels painful to face. Winners face the pain early, document it, analyze it, and then they use it to build armor. That armor is what makes them unshakable in a storm. I want you to really feel this. If you're not journaling, if you're not reviewing, if you're not structuring repetition, you're not trading. You're just spinning in chaos. You're like a sailor trying to navigate the ocean without a map, convinced you'll eventually arrive somewhere safe by sheer luck. You won't. You'll drown. But if you're a rebel, you know better. You don't just sail blindly. You draw the map. You review the map. You follow the map until the path becomes second nature. Now, some of you listening right now are resisting this. You're thinking, I don't have time to journal. I just want to trade. Let me be clear. If you don't have time to journal, you don't have time to win. Period. Journaling is trading. Review is trading. Repetition is trading. The actual click of the button, the entry, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real work, the work that separates winners from losers, happens outside the chart. It happens in the pages of your journal, in the hours of reflection, in the repetitive refinement of structure. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's tedious. Yes, it feels slower than chasing entries. But that's the paradox. The slower you go in journaling and review, the faster your results come. Because instead of running in circles for years, you're building a staircase one brick at a time. Each journal entry is a brick. Each review session is cement. Each repetition is another step. And before you know it, you're climbing higher while the others are still running in the same circle at the bottom. Let me ask you directly, how many trades did you take this week? Do you know? Can you list them? Can you tell me in detail why you took them? What your state of mind was? Whether you followed your model or not? If you can't answer that without opening your platform, then you're not leading your trading. You're being dragged by it. Your journal is the evidence of your leadership. Without it, you're just guessing at your own life. And I'll tell you something else. A journal doesn't just capture your trading decisions. It captures your identity. Over time, when you read back through your entries, you start to see who you really are as a trader. You see your fears, your biases, your tendencies, your growth. You watch yourself evolve in writing. And that awareness is priceless. It's like meeting yourself for the first time and realizing, this is who I've been all along. This is who I'm becoming. No market guru can give you that. Only your own reflection can. Now, don't get me wrong. Journaling alone doesn't magically turn you into a winner. Plenty of people write things down and never change. That's why review and structural repetition matter. It's not about writing. It's about transforming notes into design. Review is the bridge. Repetition is the cement. And when you do it long enough, something incredible happens. Your system starts running you. Your journal becomes your accountability partner. Your repetition becomes your muscle memory. And suddenly, you're not battling impulses anymore. You're simply following a structure that already knows the way. That's the difference. Losers think trading is about predicting the market. Winners know trading is about predicting themselves. And you can't predict yourself without data. Your journal is that data. Your review is the analysis. Your repetition is the proof. Together, they create a habit so strong that losing becomes the exception, not the rule. So here's the question. Are you willing to be bored? Are you willing to trade the thrill of chasing for the patience of writing? Are you willing to face yourself in the mirror of your journal? Because that's where the separation happens. Not on the chart, not on the entry, not on the exit, but in the quiet moment after, when you pick up the pen, record the truth, and commit to learning from it. That's the habit that makes you a winner. That's the habit that transforms chaos into command. And this is where most traders quietly bow out, not because they lack passion, but because passion without structure always burns itself out. Think about it. How many times have you woken up fired with motivation, only to watch that fire die halfway through the week because you never had a repeatable structure to sustain it? The truth is, motivation doesn't scale. But repetition does. Structure does. And that is why journaling, review, and repetition aren't just nice add-ons. They are the only bridge from chaos to consistency. When you open a journal and write down what you did, you aren't just recording numbers. You are translating your behavior into language. You are freezing time and capturing decisions as they happened, not as your memory wants to romanticize them later. This is crucial because traders are masters of self-deception. We tell ourselves stories about why we entered a trade, why we held too long, why we added to a losing position. But when you journal, the ink doesn't lie. The journal exposes you to yourself. And it's in that exposure that growth becomes possible. But here's where most traders stop. They write things down but never go back. They treat journaling like a checkbox exercise. And so their journals become graveyards of data, dead pages, lifeless entries. Nothing changes. You see, it's not just the act of recording that matters. It's the act of reviewing. The habit of coming back, facing your own patterns, confronting your own fingerprints of failure, and saying, there it is again, the same mistake wearing a new disguise. That's where transformation begins. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a sculptor. Day after day, they chip away at the same block of stone. At first, nothing makes sense. It's just rock and dust. But then slowly, forms begin to emerge. Features start to take shape. The sculptor isn't adding anything. They're removing what doesn't belong. That is journaling and review in trading. You're not looking for something new to add every time. You're chiseling away at what doesn't belong until only the structure remains. Now, why repetition? Because your nervous system doesn't trust you yet. Think about that carefully. If you've spent years trading on impulse, chasing signals, and breaking your own rules, why would your nervous system suddenly believe you when you say, this time, I'll follow structure? It won't. Your body remembers the chaos. Your body remembers the adrenaline rush of impulse trades, the dopamine of false wins, the crash of devastating losses. That memory lives in your muscles, in your breath, in the way your hands hover over the mouse when the chart is moving. So what repetition does is retrain your nervous system to trust process over impulse. Every time you review your journal and then go back to the charts with intention, you're rewiring something inside. Every time you execute according to your documented plan, even when it feels boring, even when it feels like nothing is happening, you're carving a groove into your nervous system. And over time, that groove becomes the default. That is how winners are made. Not by chasing excitement, but by building grooves of structure so deep that chaos can't pull them out. But let's be brutally honest. Most traders will never get here. Not because it's too hard, but because it's too boring. Discipline sounds sexy until you realize discipline is repetition, and repetition feels mundane. Losers are always searching for novelty. Winners are married to repetition. That is why the same trader can hold the same losing habit for 5 years, while another trader with the same resources rewires their entire psychology in 6 months. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's the daily act of facing themselves on paper, reviewing without excuse, and repeating structure until the nervous system bows. And here's something almost nobody tells you. Journaling isn't only about trades. It's about your state, the way you felt, the context you brought into the trade. Did you argue with someone before you sat down? Did you feel pressure because you needed to make money fast? Were you trading on less than 4 hours of sleep? These are not side notes. These are structural inputs. When you see over time that your worst trades happen on days you didn't sleep, or when you fought with your partner, or when you were trading out of desperation, suddenly the pattern is undeniable, and then the choice is in your face. You can't hide behind, the market was unfair. No, your state, and that's where real responsibility begins. Now imagine this with me. Picture 2 traders starting on the same day. One journals loosely, writes when they feel like it, reviews once in a while, but mostly keeps moving forward as if the next big trade will fix everything. The other trader commits. They write after every session, review weekly, track their state, track their actions, and then deliberately repeat what worked and cut what didn't. Fast forward 12 months. One trader is still oscillating between hope and despair, clinging to discipline as if sheer willpower can outpace structure. The other has turned their trading into a blueprint, predictable, repeatable, intentional. Who do you think survives? The gap between them isn't talent. It isn't opportunity. It isn't strategy. It's the habit. The habit of journaling, review, and repetition. That habit is the line between winners and losers. And I want to ask you directly, which side of that line do you want to stand on? Because here's the truth most traders don't want to admit. You don't fail because you lack knowledge. You don't fail because you haven't read enough books, or because you don't know the latest indicators, or because you haven't yet stumbled on that magical strategy the forums keep promising. You fail because you lack proof of your own consistency. And that proof doesn't come from motivational speeches or from buying another tool. It only comes from one thing: the habit of documenting, confronting, and repeating. Without that, every win feels like luck and every loss feels like disaster. With it, every outcome becomes data and every session becomes a step forward. Winners build archives of their own evolution. Losers build excuses. I want you to feel the weight of that. Archives versus excuses. One is permanent, structural, undeniable. The other is temporary, emotional, fragile. And if you look at your trading life right now, which one are you building? Are you quietly stacking evidence of your own progression? Or are you stacking excuses, explanations, and justifications for why you're not where you want to be? Now let's make this painfully real. Imagine pulling up your journal after 6 months of intentional documentation. Not half-hearted notes, not scattered screenshots, not "I'll write it later" scribbles, but serious documentation. You flip through pages that show not just your trades, but your state, your patterns, your breakthroughs. You see the days you broke rules, and you see what those days cost you. You see the setups you executed perfectly, and you see how those patterns repeat. You notice that your best outcomes come from structure, not impulse. And then it hits you. You don't need to guess anymore. You don't need to hope. You don't need another guru, another indicator, another secret signal. You have your own truth, recorded in your own handwriting, carved into your own nervous system. That's what winners hold. They hold evidence. And with evidence, confidence is no longer a feeling, it's a structure. But most traders never get here. Why? Because they can't face themselves. They would rather face the market than their own reflection. They'd rather spend money on another course than spend 10 quiet minutes documenting their own chaos. They'd rather look outward than inward. And that's why losers keep losing. The market doesn't destroy them. Their refusal to review themselves does. Let me ask you directly. Look at your last 20 trades. Can you explain them in detail? Not just the entries and exits, but the why, the state you were in, the rules you broke or followed, the emotional story behind each one. If you can't, you're not trading. You're gambling. But if you can trace your decisions back to structure, then you're already walking the path of a rebel. You're already separating yourself from the crowd. And that's what this entire habit is about. Separation. Winners aren't separated by genius or luck. They're separated by structure. They are the ones who built a system of truth around themselves so strong that chaos couldn't knock them down. That's what journaling, review, and repetition really mean. It's not paperwork. It's not busy work. It's rebellion against the old you, the impulsive you, the emotional you, the gambling you. Every page you write is a declaration of war against your own inconsistency. Every review session is a mirror you refuse to turn away from. Every repetition is a nail in the coffin of your old reactive self. So let me challenge you. Think about your very last trade. Right now, can you describe your exact emotional state before you entered? Did you enter because your structure was present, or because you felt bored, greedy, or fearful? Did you document it? Did you review it? Or did you just close it and move on like nothing happened? Because here's the truth. Your unreviewed trades are the seeds of your future losses, and your reviewed trades are the seeds of your future mastery. Most traders believe discipline alone will save them. If I just stick to the rules, I'll be fine. No. Discipline without documentation is blindness. You can follow rules for a week, maybe 2, but without reviewing what those rules produced, you won't know whether you're actually growing or just surviving. Discipline without review is like trying to navigate the ocean with no map. You might row hard, but you'll still drift aimlessly. That's why so many disciplined traders still fail. They think rule following is enough. But the truth is, without proof, you'll always doubt yourself. Without records, you'll always wonder if the market is against you, if your strategy is broken, or if you're just unlucky. Documentation gives you proof. Review turns that proof into patterns. Repetition engraves those patterns into your nervous system until consistency is no longer a dream. It's your identity. Now imagine this. 6 months of journaling. Every morning, you note your state before you trade. Every session, you write down what you saw, what you did, and why you did it. Every evening, you review your decisions. Not your results, but your decisions. You don't just celebrate wins, you dissect them. You don't just regret losses, you extract their lessons. You repeat this cycle again and again. Do you know what happens? The fog clears. Your edge sharpens. You stop being a trader who tries things, and you become a trader who executes a structure. That's the separation. That's why this habit is not optional. It's the very line between those who make it and those who don't. Now let me paint the other side. Imagine 6 months with no journaling, no review, no repetition, just raw trading. What happens? You forget your wins, you forget your losses, you repeat the same mistakes, and you start believing stories like, the market is rigged against me, or my strategy doesn't work. You become a victim of your own lack of memory. You wander in circles while convincing yourself you're moving forward. And at the end of 6 months, when someone asks, so what have you learned? You have nothing to show but vague feelings and random screenshots. That's not trading. That's survival on borrowed time. Drah! So here's the real question. Which 6 months are you willing to build? The 6 months of evidence or the 6 months of excuses? The 6 months of transformation or the 6 months of repetition of chaos? You can't build both. One cancels the other. Because here's what I know. The market rewards those who can prove themselves to themselves. Not to me, not to anyone else, just to themselves. That's why journaling is not just about writing. It's about authorship. It's about saying, I own my craft, I own my results, I own my patterns. Review is not just about looking back. It's about confronting the truth you'd rather avoid. And repetition is not just about doing it again. It's about carving a structure so deep into your nervous system that it becomes your automatic response. Now let's go deeper. Think about your identity. Who do you believe you are as a trader? Are you the kind of trader who reacts or the kind who designs? Are you the kind who drifts or the kind who builds? Journaling answers that question for you every single day. Review confirms it. Repetition locks it in. Every page you write, every chart you annotate, every session you revisit is you saying, I am a trader of structure. I am a trader of design. And here's the paradox. When you journal and review long enough, trading stops being about the market at all. It becomes about you. The market becomes a mirror. Every trade becomes a reflection of your structure. And your journal becomes your autobiography, written in trades, in decisions, in breakthroughs. Winners know this. That's why they don't hide from the process. They embrace it. Losers run from it, and that's why they stay stuck. Think of it like this. Your journal is your laboratory. Every trade is an experiment. The review is your analysis, and repetition is your science. That's how you turn trading from guesswork into mastery. That's how you separate yourself from the masses who will never take 10 minutes to write anything down. So the next time you're tempted to chase a new strategy, ask yourself this. Have you truly exhausted the lessons in your own journal? Or are you skipping your own evidence to chase someone else's promises? Because your best mentor is not me, it's not another guru, it's not another course. Your best mentor is your past self, documented, reviewed, and repeated until the truth is undeniable. And that brings me back to you. What will you choose? Will you keep drifting, hoping discipline will save you? Or will you pick up the only habit that separates winners from losers? Will you document, review, and repeat until the market has no choice but to bow to your consistency? That choice is yours. No mentor, no channel, no community can make it for you. You have to decide. But here's the good news. You're not alone. You're not the only one making that choice. Here on Trading Rebels, we are building an army of intentional traders who refuse to settle for chaos. We face ourselves. We structure our craft. We turn repetition into power. And if you're listening to this, then you're already part of that movement. So lean into it. Take your journal seriously. Treat review as sacred. Make repetition your oxygen, and watch the gap between you and the crowd widen until there is no comparison left. And as you take that stem with us, we don't just trade charts here. We trade identities. We don't just chase setups. We build structures. We don't just dream of freedom. We design it. And that design begins with one habit, the only habit that truly separates winners from losers. Pick it up, live it, and don't look back. Now here's my charge to you. If this truth cut through the noise and woke something up in you, then let it live. Don't just walk away. Write something down today. Review your last trades tonight. Repeat the process tomorrow. And when you do, know that you're not doing it alone. You're doing it as part of the rebels. Stay intentional. Stay structured. Stay alive in this journey. Because the world may trade on impulse, but we